Hey, welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff coming to you from an undisclosed location somewhere in Texas. Actually, I'm trying to get things set up here because today we've got a good amount of info to cover. There's some things going on in the Ripple XRP ecosystem. We've got some interesting commentary coming from different venues. We're going to cover a couple tweets that were out there. We have a couple mayors that have announced that they are going to accept Bitcoin in terms of their paycheck payment. Is that for real? We have a CFTC commissioner coming out and talking about the lack of clarity. So we want to get into that a little bit. There does seem to be a little bit of enthusiasm in the remittance space coming from the Treasury. Is it real enthusiasm? I don't know. We'll see here in a little bit. And BitBoy is getting a lot more outspoken and he's getting a little technical. So want to dig into that one also. There's definitely some good things to dig into. I don't know if we're going to get into and cover that 1.2, 1.3, 1 point whatever trillion dollar quote unquote infrastructure disaster and what that could potentially mean for cryptocurrency. I don't think we're going to get into that, but I don't know. We might. We just might. But if you guys are ready, I'm ready to kick this thing off. So I say we go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Hey, welcome. Sorry for the late start here. I was tied up with a little bit of login computer issues, plus the lighting where I'm at was really, really bad. So I was moving around trying to figure out the best lighting situation here. But welcome back. Glad to see you guys here. We are just moments away from turning 21,000 on the channel. So if you're brand new here and you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button and that'll push us over the 21,000 hump there. So really looking forward to seeing that happen. You guys have been a phenomenal amount of support for On the Chain. So anyhow, let's dig in. Let's just dive right in here. Chip actually put out a couple of solid tweets over the past couple days, and that's kind of what we want to go over. That's what we want to cover. So the very first of them that we're going to go through, and let's see what will it take to share. We're gonna have to share this potentially by tab just to make it a little bit easier. So let's pick one by one and we'll go through them. So the first tweet that we're gonna share here from Chip, and I don't have it up there shared yet. So let's pick the right shareable screen as we pull it up there, and we're gonna add. There he is. There's Chip right there. So let's pull it up a little bit larger. All right, perfect. And I might even go a step larger. There we go. So, all right. So I find this one interesting because, Chip put this out. There's a couple mayors in the space have come out and said, hey, you know what? We are going to take our paycheck in Bitcoin. Now, the first one that came out and did that was Miami's mayor, Francis Suarez. He came out, and obviously we've talked about some of the things going on in Miami. We've talked about Miami Coin. We've talked about the passion and the embracing of the digital asset space down in Miami as they set to attract more and more and more of the fintechs, as well as more of the blockchain. We see a lot of outgoing companies coming out of California and New York fleeing unprecedented regulatory burdens of the person and high taxation. And so it's no longer a business or a person-friendly environment. Therefore, you're seeing more and more companies that are moving and migrating to places like, Texas, where I am right now, the great state of Texas. And then you have Florida. So you have a lot of people that are moving from New York and California, moving to both of these states, to Texas and to Florida. Why? Well, we just talked about that. Now, in Miami, we're seeing also this objective to become extremely crypto friendly, extremely friendly to these fintechs that are looking for a home. we see the same thing coming out of the mayor of Tampa. So guess what? First, you have the mayor of Miami saying that he's going to accept his paycheck in Bitcoin. Then you have the mayor of Miami saying that she's going to accept her paycheck in Bitcoin. And now the mayor of New York, the new mayor, the new incoming mayor, we don't know anything about him yet. And we'll see if he does the right thing or if he's going to follow in the path of Wilhelm. We all know his communist background. And so is Eric now going to apply good, sound judgment in bringing back New York from the brink of disaster? And so we'll see what happens. But the thing is that Eric has also chosen to take his paycheck in Bitcoin. Now, I look at this, and when I heard Mayor Suarez say he's going to do it, I said, hey, this is great. However, then you come to find out that he said he was going to take one paycheck in Bitcoin, not all of his paychecks in Bitcoin. Now, if you do one paycheck in Bitcoin, so what? You go through the ordeal, you set it up, you get paid, you move on with your life. How does that influence or impact or affect anybody? And so I like, Chip put this here, receiving 1 or 3 paychecks is a gimmick, 100% gimmick. Getting paid every paycheck is 100% epic. Now, Chip says, I'm sure that that's forthcoming. I agree. I think it's forthcoming as well. I do believe that at some point, people will start getting paid in cryptocurrency. James Rule XRP is a prime example of someone that's getting paid in XRP, not Bitcoin, but XRP. And guess what? He did it way before it was cool, way before the mayor of Miami even thought about taking a paycheck in cryptocurrency, or the mayor of Tampa, or the new incoming mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, before they ever thought they would jump on the bandwagon. You know whose bandwagon they're jumping on? They're jumping on the bandwagon of James Rule XRP. And you know what? There were others in the space before him as well that were taking their paychecks in and getting paid in digital asset, in cryptocurrency. So nothing new, nothing to be see here. But the thing is, the one thing that does stand out is gimmicky and ridiculous as they could make themselves out to be by doing one paycheck. Hey, you know what? Proof of concept, that's the point. So if you can get proof of concept, and it's not just anybody at this point, it's those that are in charge of their city's regulatory hurdles. So if they decide they want to push, like the mayor of Miami, Suarez, wants to push for a friendly environment, a friendly zone for digital asset, he's going to do it. He has to get his city commissioners on board to make the changes. However, he is the one with the vision. He's the one that is pushing Miami in a direction that becomes extremely friendly to this space. Forget about all the other politics aside, not relevant in this conversation. However, what we're seeing also, the mayor of Tampa also trying to attract, a lot of the top tiered talent in the crypto space. So right now there are ads out there for a legal representation for Coinbase in the Miami area, meaning that it looks like they're potentially opening an office in Miami. We also know that Celsius has opened or is opening an office in the Tampa area. We know that there's lots of other companies, but those are two that are very recognizable, very well known, that are migrating to these areas. But gimmicky, yes. Can it lead to bigger changes? I believe that it can. But I thought we had to kind of dissect this a little bit and talk about it. I thought it was really interesting, something that is fun. So that was number one. Let's see what is going on here. So Chip gave me a shout out, gave me a call, said, "Where are you when I was running late?" He said, "Get the heck on to get on there. What's going on?" Not answering my tweet. So big shout out to Chip. Thanks for getting things moving forward and getting all the people together. So we got a small showing this morning. We got 75 people in the room. That's what happens when you come from an undisclosed location. But got Darcy in here coming in all the way from Galway over in Ireland. If you guys haven't done so already, go out, run out, get your espresso. Today, unfortunately, is the acidic Starbucks espresso. but it's still good. Still good stuff. Highly recommend that you do that. So let's see what else we got. Pensacola today in the house as well. I want to give a big shout out to Hans Loaded as well. Hans Loaded has really been giving us a huge amount of support, going through and helping us set up the chapters in every one of these videos. So if you go back and you watch the video after the fact, you can go through and you can see chapters and you can get fast forwarded right to where you want to be. But I appreciate that, Norseman, the mathlete in the flesh, in the person, right here. Now, I was up early, super early, down in the gym, working out, and normally I work out at home in my home gym, and it is just me and maybe the dog. And now I was down there this morning, and I'm like running into people. I'm like, come on, it's like 6 a.m. I knew I should have got there a little bit earlier, but I get down there at 6, and there's already people like, you're bumping into them, trying to get the weights and trying to move around the room. It's super uncomfortable. But anyhow, let's see here. I like how Bosbay said, one of the reasons why I was late is because obviously everything mooned already, and that's it. We're done. We're out. So, all right. And it is funny, though. It is funny. So, and I'm glad that Chip did start on time, but I'm glad that yesterday Chip sent something out, and he wrote that he goes 7 a.m. Now, I think he was trying to set up another call that we have for 7 a.m. And I see his message come through 7 a.m. And I'm like, holy crap, 7 a.m. And I realized that when I first set up the stream, I set it up for 8 a.m. and I'm Central Time. And so that was almost a little bit of a disaster. But all right, let's keep pushing through this. There's another good tweet that Chip put out here that I want to cover, because this one I think is a little bit comical. Let me see. I need to. Did I open it? I haven't opened it up yet. Hang on. Let me open up. Let me see if I can get it in a new tab, and then we're going to go through it, because I got to go tab by tab. Otherwise, not going to come through. Now, this is a funny one because this was on FXStreet. Now, I love how they go through, and a little bit of this is funny. This is about XRP and XRP encouraging others. Let's see. Here we go. I like this one. Okay, let's share the tab. Here we go. Let's see if we can pull it in there. Let's add it to the screen. Man, I like how they put our guy down, or the little thumbnail image down at the bottom. All right, so let's see what we got here. This is hilarious. So now XRP is giving advice. XRP encourages traders to buy before breaking out to $2. Now, this was on FXStreet. Now, obviously, these guys were probably referring to something else. However, but I like some of the responses that Chip got on this. You'll buy me and you'll bow to me. We got really funny stuff. Maybe they forgot the word analyst after XRP, but it's kind of hilarious, because Chip, kudos for finding that one and picking that one out, because it is relatively hilarious as you look at this one. So let's look at. Hang on, I gotta stop the screen share. Then I gotta start the screen share, and I gotta go to my other tab. And where is it? Here it is. So this is. Let's pull up the FXStreet article, because it's kind of funny. Now, this goes into, if you're, not really paying attention to how you're writing. Now, you would also think that maybe they go back and adjust the title a little bit, but it's funny. XRP encourages traders to buy before breaking out. Now, maybe it's not a mistake on how they wrote it. Maybe there is some encouragement here, because XRP is looking and entering into the buy phase, as FXStreet is pointing out. So maybe it was actually more related to that, but it's funny. A brief technical and on-chain analysis on XRP price. Here, FXStreet analysis evaluate how Ripple looks primed to resume its uptrend. So a couple things. Now, in today's day and age, when you can look around and you can get all of the information that you need to get and make sure that you're correcting your verbiage and the way you write. And it amazes me how many times over and over and over again, because this is current. This is November 5th, 2021 that this was posted. Now, what's wrong with this first sentence? Now, obviously, we see that XRP, the individual digital asset, is now issuing encouragement to traders to buy before it breaks out. So XRP knows that it's on an upward trend, and it's reaching out into the exchanges and saying, hey, you know what? I want to encourage you to buy a little bit of asset. So you might want to buy a little bit of digital asset. So here you have that encouragement. But then the problem is you get into the writing, and they just said they want to evaluate how Ripple looks prime. Now you're talking about XRP. Now you're talking about Ripple. Ripple has nothing to do with the uptrend. And if Ripple is uptrending, which we could have that whole conversation, because Chip and I have discussed how many times we see with Ripple, the company, in terms of their rollout with the RippleNet solution and their cross-border remittance payments and all of this, and the impact that they're having with banks around the world is astonishing. So if you want to talk about that uptrend, so Ripple looking, their uptrend there, completely separate article, completely separate conversation from the discussion of XRP. Now, if I were the editor, I would recommend that you go back and tweak the title, tweak that first sentence structure that you have in there. They go in, we're not going to watch the YouTube video, but it's just little things like that. You want to see, hey, you want to throw out some positives, but if you're going to put the positives, then make sure that you're not twisting the narrative while you throw out the positives. And here you have another article that was posted. XRP price kickstarts 80% ascent, retest of the 2018 highs likely. Now, man, could you imagine? I mean, we're talking about if they're really looking at a retest of highs, where does that put us? Because a retest of the 2018 highs puts us at like $3.60 plus. But here, I don't know. 2000. Well, no, I take that back. The high was in 2018. So I don't know. I'm kind of second guessing. But if you look at the article, then the retest is $1.13. So maybe those are the highs that we need to look at, because if it's scaling back up to $2, hey, you know what? That's a positive. Let me throw that back in there, because here we go. So let's look at where FXStreet is insinuating the movement of XRP is going. So this was an article that was just posted November 6th, which happens to be, today. XRP price broke out of a symmetrical triangle pattern on November 2nd. No idea. So maybe someone out there understands what the symmetrical triangle pattern is. That's awesome. But the retest here of $1.13 is confirming the start of their upswing. So here it looks like, again, look, again, just a little bit of tweaking. You want to get all technical here on FXStreet, but they're still making the same mistake. XRP price action over the past 2 months has been lackluster. Yes, to say the least. A little bit of editing here. On November 2nd, this outlook changed as Ripple bulls breached a crucial resistance. Again with the Ripple. So obviously it wasn't a one-time issue on their article yesterday. Now they're another issue. So then they go back to XRP. I get it. You want to use different terminology? Then stop using the term Ripple, because Ripple is not the digital asset. We need to start, using correct terminology here. And anyhow, you want to look at all the triangles and the double bottoms and all that stuff, and we can get something interesting going here. So I don't know. Those are my 2 cents on a few of the things that were posted here. So, like Extreme Boy saying that the market has been boring and weak start for a bull run, working on my 4-year accumulation plan. I like the long-term accumulation plans, because if you try to go for the short term, then who knows? The short-term accumulation can be a little bit difficult. So let's see here. We're getting blasted with messages here. So, all right. I've got, all right. So let's see what we got Manchester, England in here with us. Mark Hayes has joined us today, which is awesome. We got some good things going. Okay, let's see what else we got. All right. So next topic at hand. Let's see here. Let me get rid of that one, and then I'll make it easier to re-add. So Crypto Eddie actually posted something from the U.S. Treasury Department. Now, we can read through this, and is there some enthusiasm that's somehow bringing its way up through the U.S. Treasury Department? Maybe. And that's something that we want to look at. I also want to look at what this commissioner from the CFTC said, and we're going to kind of dig through this article that was posted a couple days ago by Rick Steves over at Finance Feeds. And, we're going to go through that one and see what that one's all about. But first, let's go into this tweet from Crypto Eddie, and let's look at the video clip that was posted along with it, because, is there a little bit of enthusiasm in this space coming from the Treasury Department, the U.S. Treasury Department, as it relates to cryptocurrency, as it pertains to the idea of the actual use case of digital asset and crypto for remittance payments. Now, I think that, Crypto Eddie found something interesting here. It's like 55 seconds long. Let's see if we can watch this. Let's see if I can blow it up a little bit. See if my computer will allow us to play this. Let's see how this, see if you guys, you know what? You're not going to be able to hear it. Let me remove, I got to start this over again. So stop the screen share. Of course, the one thing that we have to do every single time is say share audio. Otherwise, forget about it. You're not going to hear anything that we're talking about. And then I have to go back, and this is also the difficulty of using one screen, one laptop to try to accomplish everything here. So here we go. All right, let's hear what this guy has to say. U.S. Treasury Department. Well, let's see. Okay, here we go.
Even for people or companies transacting within wealthy nations, the cost of cross-border payments, while lower than at any point in history, remain high. A payment among G7 nations still incurs about a 2% transaction fee. That presents a challenge because history tells us that when that fee goes down, the pace and volume of commerce will increase. I know many of you entered the world of blockchain technology to solve problems like this one. You see cryptocurrency and related fintech innovation as a way to make the global economy easier to navigate for everyone. And I want to let you know, we share that aspiration. Our Treasury Department is enthusiastic about financial innovation when pursued responsibly and with an eye towards broad opportunity rather than just financial engineering. Even for people or companies transacting.
All right. So, you look at this and you say, okay, is there some excitement coming out of this space? I say, is that guy legit? I don't know if he's legit or not. He's got the Department of Treasury plaque over there. Can assume the guy is legit. I'm not 100% sure. But anyhow, the issue with it that I have is that the guy is zero enthusiasm. So, I don't know the actual source of where that's coming from. Let me see if I can discover a little bit more here. Let's see if we can dig in. See if I can. No, it's not going to let me. So anyhow, obviously the guy's reading a script. zero enthusiasm in his voice. Now I look at it, you say, hey, you guys have really looked and seen that, that the cost of cross-border payments is still exceedingly high. Therefore, we need to, come up with a great solution. And, we know that blockchain, there's some great projects out there within the blockchain space with cryptocurrency. You can get like a little bit animated, a little bit excited that you're going to save people money. You're going to help people move money cross borders. And that if the Treasury Department wants to get behind it, but other than that, what? Because the one thing that we know that's coming out of the Treasury Department has been nothing but negativity. So it's funny. All we've seen, over the past week is a little bit of lip service. They're trying everything. And a big part of it has to do with all of us, all of you guys out there that have been outspoken when it came to the infrastructure bill in the U.S. So obviously we have people here from all over the world, and there's passion from people that are all over the world. But the thing is that we have this agenda that had been pushed, this narrative within the infrastructure bill not that long ago that was pushing cryptocurrency and pushing fake, a fake narrative of friendly crypto regulatory environment into the infrastructure bill. Now we know that was obviously a little bit fraudulent. And it was very negative. Now, Chip was saying, hey, you know what? Earlier, as I was trying to get started, he said, hey, you know what? They passed that bill, but he can't find out whether or not the crypto part of the legislation is still crammed into it. We're going to have to tear through it now. Is the crypto legislation still somehow tied to who knows how many $1 trillion in expenses, that there's all sorts of hidden stuff in there? We don't know. But the thing is that we see that they're up against, tremendous losses from a political perspective. They're up against huge hurdles from an economic perspective. And when that infrastructure bill was discussed last month, they had like 40,000 people that rang the phones and said, we don't support what you're doing. And again, this also goes back to what we see going on over in the SEC v. Ripple case, that now we have 50,000 plus individuals that have jumped on board to protest in a countersuit against the SEC. Now, it's unprecedented. They haven't seen this type of response before. So now, as we look at that kind of responsiveness from the community, then now they're playing catch up. So to throw someone on and say from the Treasury Department to try to put a positive spin on things, it's maybe a little bit too late. That's the last person that I would have chosen to throw out there. Again, I don't even know if the guy is legit or not legit, So, but Jim D says, put that image of the Treasury spokesman again next to an image of Alfred E. Newman. Proof U.S. Secretary is living in a metaverse. So if you guys don't know who Alfred E. Newman is from the Mad magazine, right? So, man, it's crazy. All right, let's move on. Let's go to the next one. I want to go over to this thing that's going on right now with the CFTC. So let's see here. Hang on. Here we go. Go to here. Let's go to the markets. See if now this is really where things start to get a little bit heated, a little bit interesting, because right now the one thing that we see, we know that we have a little bit of I don't want to call it tension per se, but there's a little bit of competition between the SEC and the CFTC right now in regards to their roles in digital asset and who should have more control or regulatory control or regulatory oversight, I should say, in the crypto space. Is it the CFTC or is it the SEC? Now, obviously, we know where Daddy G stands. We know that Daddy G doesn't just want to, be a passenger. He wants to be in full control at the helm. He wants to be the main guy at the head of the train, driving the train. And, we know that his train is driving in a completely different direction than the train that it needs to drive. He's trying to force the train onto a different track, is what he's trying to do. And it's his personal track. So, and it's all based on personal opinion. Now, so there's a little bit of tension between, who has the predominant role in that regulatory oversight. Is it the SEC or is it the CFTC? So we have a CFTC commissioner has just come out. And, so the title of the article that's here on Finance Feeds says, "Crypto cash markets are beyond our expertise," says the CFTC commissioner. So let's see, well, what is this all about? And why is the CFTC saying this about this space? And I think it's interesting because one of the things that we hear from Daddy G is that everything is crystal clear. Everybody knows, according to Daddy G, that in this space, we have we have a very clear path towards the fact that many of the digital assets are indeed securities, because that's his opinion. But we know that the path is extremely murky. We know that there isn't any clarity, but it's one man's opinion against everybody else. Right now, there's actually a petition being circulated to have him resign because he has directly created and caused the losses of a significant amount of money, and is doing untold damage or untold harm to investors in the space. And the idea that the SEC is supposed to be behind the support and to protect and support retail investors is his initiative. His personal initiative has destroyed that whole narrative. So we know it's the furthest thing from the truth that his objective is to protect and defend those that are in the retail space, because everything he's done is contrary to that. Now, it's interesting because CFTC Commissioner Dawn Stump she wants to come out and address some of the confusion regarding the role of regulatories in the digital asset space. So here she comes. She wants to say a few words in relation to the CFTC's role and try to have a little bit of discussion over what does the CFTC actually oversee. So here we have Ms. Stump has been making efforts to explain the regulator's scope as something that must be dealt with before government agencies engage in jurisdictional power grab. Now, how spot on this is like the basis of everything. Before you get a regulatory body arguing and debating over who has to control what, shouldn't you understand the basic tenets of what you're trying to deal with first? And that's exactly what she's saying. She's saying, before we go through this, before you have any type of jurisdictional power grab, is it the CFTC? Is it the SEC? How do you know? How do you know who has jurisdiction or not? And she said, until we remedy that confusion, we cannot have an honest conversation about whether an agency needs new authorities, because the conversation is that the SEC wants more authority. And then there's conversation that the CFTC should have more authority. But how can you have a discussion and a debate over which agency should have more authority if you have no idea if there's any type of clarity in this? How do you know? How do you come to a firm conclusion over whether or not the SEC should be overseeing this or the CFTC? So we know that Daddy G came out immediately and says, oh, well, it's so obvious. It's so crystal clear. It's crystal clear in his brain based on what he wants the outcome to be and what his circle want the outcome to be. He wants to be in complete control of it. And he's also trying to change the narrative by changing the terminology of stablecoins to value stablecoins, which is a way of wrapping in this concept that it is now a security. So therefore, the SEC has jurisdiction. So if he is successful in twisting the narrative and twisting the terminology that's utilized, his argument of the SEC in control of that space becomes more likely. Now, we also know that the Treasury has pushed stablecoins in the direction of the SEC. So how could this character that we just watched a few minutes ago from the Treasury Secretary, how could that representative say that they understand that there are great things in the blockchain crypto space that they need to embrace for cross-border payments, when the Treasury has also now, regardless of clarity in the space, regardless of any understanding, because we know where the head of the Treasury Secretary herself, stands on cryptocurrency. She's outdated. She is not the right person to be making any kind of decision on whether or not the cryptocurrencies are securities or not securities. She's in no position to make a decision over whether or not the CFTC or the SEC should be overseeing something. That's not, so we have a major issue. And this is what Dawn is pointing out here too. Commissioner Stump is pointing out, until we remedy the confusion, because we know that there still remains confusion in the United States. So everyone around the world, where in a country where they have regulatory clarity, is looking at us and they're like, what in the world is going on in the US? You guys can't get your act together. You need to have a little bit of clarity. Maybe we need some more boxes of clarity, and we'll send them out, make sure that everybody understands and gets a little clarity. But here she says, and only then can informed stakeholders contribute to designing a workable regulatory structure. Now, you look at these two paragraphs, or these two parts of this sentence together in this quote, and it's everything, right? It's everything. So first, let's start over here though. Before government agencies engage in a jurisdiction power grab, that is a shot right across the bow of Daddy G and the SEC. It's like, hey, hold up, take a step back. There is a little bit of confusion, and without a remedy to that confusion, we can't even have a proper conversation over who needs new authority and who doesn't. So hold your horses, Daddy G. We're not ready for this. And when we do have a good, clear understanding, it's at that point, when we are now informed, right? Then we can decide on the right workable regulatory structure. Now, a big part of this is that Congress is tripping over themselves. Now, it's like we're a broken record, but our broken record keeps paying dividends. Why? Because every single day there's a new article and a new movement in the direction, and there's more people that are coming out spoken in support of regulatory clarity done the right way. So Commissioner Stump saying, hey, we can't make a decision without having that conversation. So here the commissioner pointed to the persistent tendency to draw a distinction between commodities and securities as an example of the confusion of how it all works. Then stemming from well-intentioned product developers seeking to determine if they need to face the CFTC or the SEC, right? How do you know? How do you know which way to go? Gary Gensler said, well, come on in. We can sit down and have a beer. We can have some coffee and we can have a conversation over this. Now, is that the case? Is it that easy? Is it that simple to just come on in? Now, is the SEC, do they have an open door policy? Can one of these companies call them up and say, hey, you know what? My calendar's free on Wednesday of this week. And is Gary Gensler going to say, hey, that's great. Maybe not this week, but maybe next week. Or is he going to say, hey, you know what? I'm busy for the next 6 months to a year. So why don't you schedule it out? I'll send you to my receptionist and she can schedule you out maybe next year sometime. Is that the case? What's going on? Is he that open? Does he have an open door policy? Are people coming in? Are they sitting down with Daddy G, or are they sitting down with some lackey that doesn't really understand the space? And does he really understand the space? You can have a good, clear argument that maybe he really doesn't, or doesn't really care to discuss. So, but this is really, really, how do you know? Is it the CFTC or is it the SEC? I don't know. There's no true path of clarity. Now, the one way you can get that is through congressional action, through a congressional act, similar to, oh, wait a minute, the Token Taxonomy Act. How many times do we have to have this discussion? Why isn't Commissioner Stump referencing, hey, by the way, why don't we push this back to Congress and say, Token Taxonomy Act. Maybe that's where it needs to go, and maybe that's what she's going to say. I don't know. She said, so here she goes on. When people come in, is my product a security or a commodity? She's saying that's the wrong question. That's not what you should be asking. She says, as most everyone here knows, the CFTC doesn't regulate commodities. So any pronouncement that an asset, a digital asset, an asset, is a commodity should not be interpreted as a roadmap to the CFTC for regulatory oversight. So the question is, it's not, is it a security or commodity? And again, how do you know? Where's the clear path to making a decision, to having this? There is no clarity, and you can't leave it up to, you have two regulatory bodies that also don't understand. And you have a little bit of struggle, a power struggle going on. So this is really interesting. I'm real happy for this article that they posted, because as you break these down, some of the statements that she says, you can see the issue at hand. You can see what needs to be overcome. And then it also highlights and underscores the significance and the importance of pushing this over to Congress. But if Congress doesn't want to do their job, because they too don't understand and they're too busy doing other things that are contrary to what's good for the space, then you have to be outspoken. That's why 40,000 people called their senators when they were trying to cram in the crypto legislation into the infrastructure bill. Now, hopefully that's not in there now. Hopefully they removed it, and we're going to have to dig through and find out. But these are critical things that are happening right now in government right here in the U.S. And again, people in other parts of the world are looking in and they're saying, hey, we're moving forward with or without you guys. Really, what happens in the U.S. doesn't bother us. It doesn't really matter to us, even though we know that the U.S. has always had a leadership position in the development of the high-tech space, of the internet development, of everything in the space and software. Obviously, there's development all over the world, but the U.S. has always had a leadership position. Now, not only is the U.S. losing that leadership position, but they might never recover a position at the table if things continue to go this way. If there's continuous confusion, or if the regulatory bodies make the wrong choices. So if they allow it to happen, if they allow the SEC to just do what they want, or they allow the Treasury to just assign power over to an agency when that's not in their scope of authority, then we have an issue. Because then what happens? What happens when the next administration comes in? Or what happens in 22, when we have a complete changeover of both the House and the Senate? Do they now have to go after? And is that one of their first primary pieces of legislation? Is that to try to push through some normalcy? So what happens now if you have an act of Congress? Do you now strip the SEC of authority that was granted to them through some other means? How do you go about doing that? So now you're changing, what could potentially become a norm. So now it sets in more confusion until you have an act of Congress, until you actually pass through proper, clear legislation. So we talk about this all the time, and we just have to underscore it. But look at the struggle. It's not just us talking about it. And we see where Daddy G is. And we don't have to just beat up on him for the sense that we disagree with him, because it's his opinion, our opinion. It's also Commissioner Stump is pointing this out from the CFTC. It's like, hold on, SEC, you're overstepping and you're making a mess of the space. So here, she says, I want to be very clear that the CFTC regulates derivatives. We are specifically charged by Congress to see that we are specifically charged by Congress, not the Treasury Secretary, not anybody else, specifically charged by Congress to regulate futures and swaps, many of which have commodities as their underlying asset, but we do not regulate the underlying commodities themselves. So this is really, really significant here. Now, as you go on, so here the SEC regulates securities and CFTC regulates derivatives, not commodities, including some derivatives on securities, right? So I like she says here, complicated, unfortunately, yes, but it's how our system's designed. with multiple regulators involved in the oversight of assets, depending on the nature and function of specific products. So it's complicated. Every group, every agency is responsible for something. Now, the SEC regulates securities. Now, can you just let the SEC take more power and control just because that's what they want to do, because of Daddy G, because he has an opinion? Or do they have to battle it out, in the streets? How are they going to get some clarity here? How do we know which agency is going to be responsible? Because as we see here, that the CFTC regulates derivatives by an act of Congress. The SEC oversees securities by an act of Congress, not just because. It's not just because, right? The CFTC commissioner suspects the root of some of the confusion as the CFTC's role in the digital asset space is the regulator's role in the cash markets. So we can dig it. I mean, you can go so deep into discussing this, but again, Congress provided the CFTC with this expanded enforcement authority because such fraudulent or manipulative activity in the cash market may have an impact on the derivatives market, right? So there's a lot going on here, but again, let's just highlight this part. Again, the Congress provided, right, the expanded enforcement authority, right? It wasn't somebody else. It was Congress that provided the authority. Gary Gensler went to Congress to ask for an expansion of his authority. He said he needs more authority. The SEC needs more authority, not the Treasury Secretary giving him oversight and authority over stablecoins, because it doesn't work that way. So, she continues, given the confusion that exists, I believe we must consistently clarify that this broader enforcement authority does not suggest that we are conducting day-to-day regulatory oversight in this cash or spot crypto market. Failing to be clear on this point gives the public a false sense of security and leaves those seeking a regulatory home perplexed. There's confusion. It's not clear. We don't know which agency should do what, but it's pretty clear, right? Right now, as far as the SEC, they oversee securities. That's it. Put an end to it. And you're there to protect the retail investors. You're there to make sure that they're not defrauded. You're there to make sure that corporations are adhering to the Securities Act of 33 and Securities Exchange Act of 34. And that's it. Within that confines of the authority granted to the SEC. Now, there's some murkiness within this space. Can you identify a digital asset? Is it a security or not a security? We don't know. Is it the SEC's role to adjust that, to make that determination? Or should there be a broader discussion? Or should that discussion fall to an act of Congress to clarify whether or not the digital asset is a security? Is it a commodity? Is it an asset? Where does it fall? Is it currency? How do we make that determination? Now, should that determination be strictly based on the ideas of one man, Daddy G, who seems to be a bit irrational in his approach? And is there some other motivation? So if you read the letter in the form that was put out to request the petition to request his resignation, it said that maybe maybe even there's some other motivation there. Maybe there's some other ties within the SEC that maybe these guys are, what are they invested in? Are they invested in Bitcoin, in Ethereum? Are they not invested in digital assets at all? Why did they single out Ripple and XRP when they have not focused and singled out Ethereum or Bitcoin? Why do they keep pushing towards some normalcy? Why are the mayors of Tampa, New York, and Miami, all three, why are they now pushing Bitcoin and getting and doing this gimmicky kind of publicity stunt to have their paychecks in Bitcoin? Why now? Why is that one post from Crypto Eddie that you found from the Treasury Department? Why are they now pushing for some normalcy, right? Why are all these things happening a little bit simultaneously? Why is Commissioner Stump coming out and saying, hey, you know what? There's a little bit of confusion. We need to clarify the confusion. However, you see all these others, they're normalizing one asset. What is the motivation behind one asset? Why isn't the asset class? Shouldn't there be a broader discussion on the asset class in general to really break it down and have a very clear understanding of this is what makes a digital asset. This is what makes it a security. This is what makes it a non-security. This is why it might be a commodity. This is why it might be a currency. Why not break that down, have a conversation, and then through an act of Congress, put it into a nice bill and pass it? Similar to the Securities Exchange Act that created the SEC, similar to how Commissioner Stump is saying that it was Congress that provided the CFTC with enforcement authority and expanded enforcement authority. It's very, clear. It's very, simple. They confuse it. They want to make it more complex. And then if it's complex and confusing, then when they present it to the people, they say, "Oh, it's way too much. I don't get it. I don't understand." But it is done simply through an act of Congress that is going to push the normalcy, and that's it. And so until we get those types of like-minded people at the helm, we're going to still get a lot of the same, and that's what we've been getting. And so now you have a lot of things that have transpired, and we're going to see more over the course of this week because we're going to dig in and see whether or not the crypto legislation was still crammed in somehow into this bill that went through Congress yesterday that Chip was saying. I didn't see if it passed or not. I haven't even read the news. But if it did, and it goes through Senate, and it goes back to the Senate, and then it comes back, and then it goes up, and they sign it, and it goes through, then we need to see what's in it. Are they going to keep passing legislation with thousands and thousands and thousands of pages that nobody can read? Much of it is not clear. But if that legislation is there, you better believe that this is the time that people need to be hounding their congressional representatives and their Senate, both the House and the Senate. They need to hound them and really, really go after them. This is not a time to sit back and be comfortable, right? Because we need to see Congress doing the right thing. We have to see that the authority of oversight is given to the right agencies with clarity and not allowing, chaos, right? So, and that's exactly, what we see here. Before expanding the CFTC's authority into the cash market, and this is Commissioner Stump called for careful consideration to whether the market infrastructure we oversee today can logically benefit the cash market, which have historically been beyond our expertise. But this is so key, right? So we have to understand, where this all fits. How does this all get pieced together? And she's saying we have to be careful from her perspective of the CFTC, that they want some clarity, some normalcy, some understanding. And that's really what this is all about. You've got to get that understanding, right? It just has to happen. So CryptoLogic said, yeah, it passed. So now that, we get it. So we have to figure out if the legislation is tied in. Did they leave the crypto legislation in this infrastructure bill? That's the big question. That's the big question. So it's really, and obviously they tore it down. It's not exactly, I'm sure, what they wanted, but it has to be torn down. Here's a great t-shirt idea. Moon is made of XRP. You get a moon image, an XRP logo, and you've got, all sorts of good stuff here. So I like this. So Glad Instance and US, use your vote wisely. You got to vote out the tyranny, because the tyranny is represented by the one person that wants to try to lead the pack, right? They lead the pack, but it's based on their idea and everybody else's idea. Not so smart. They're not intelligent. And, they want to keep, pushing forward based on their own opinions. And they're going to get that authority based on that. That's really, really bad. So that's it. Crazy stuff, right? Really, really crazy stuff. And I like here, Jay Sober saying people love giving authority to government. Wake up. And it's interesting. Last night, I met somebody from Australia, and they left. They had been living there for a while, and they left Australia a number of years ago when they passed certain legislation that would basically take away some of their freedoms over there. I know there's, a lot of, great people over there. A lot of great people in Australia, but they've given up a lot of their rights over in Australia to the power, giving way too much power to the government. And that's exactly what Jay Soper is referencing, giving authority. They love it. They think it's in their own benefit. I like here, you got the MJ said, stop the Gary bashing, Jeff. He taught at MIT. I did not teach at MIT. So obviously he's a lot smarter because he taught at MIT. So there you go. A lot of great stuff here. Let's see what we got. Oh, that was Gary. And I said, you know what, Gary? No, not the time for calls right now, Gary. We got other things going on over here. So Gary is lobbying on the chain to get us on board with what was going on over at over at the SEC. So anyhow, you guys are awesome. You guys are amazing. This was a great chat today. We had a nice small group of around 100 people on with us today. If you're brand new here, you've never been on before, you might want to, hit that subscribe button. It's real easy to do. It's in red typically. You can hit the subscribe, hit the bell notifier if you haven't done that yet, because every time we post a live stream, you get a notification pushed out to you as a reminder to say, hey, these guys are getting ready to go live and you might want to tune in. So with that, there's Crypto Eddie. Appreciate you. I'm glad that you posted that. It was fun kind of dissecting it. Thanks for everything you do in the space as well, everyone. Big shout out to Crypto Eddie. Big shout out to Hands Loaded for helping put together and helping mod the chat here, and also putting together our chapters that we put back into the description to make it easier to go back through and go after specific parts of the video. Big shout out to everyone here that supports On the Chain. Appreciate everybody. We do stream 6 days a week, Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless you're in Texas, and then it's 7 a.m. apparently. It's 7 a.m. Eastern Central Standard Time over here, which is still 8 a.m., which is pretty amazing, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until tomorrow night, look forward to seeing all of you guys back on. It'll be Chip and I co-hosting On the Chain, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys back on tomorrow night. With that, have a great day. I'm out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.